Dear Lord, we stand before you in humble prayer before we start this webinar 11 series. We realize that without your blessings, we would not able to succeed in the plans we have for this season. Bestow your grace and divine wisdom to all of us, so we could cooperate and enjoy camaraderie and love for the greater glory of God. Bless also those we have left behind in our homes. May you grant them peace and happiness as they go about their activities. Bless people around the globe that they may enjoy peace and the goodness of your love. We ask all this through your mighty name, all together. Amen.
Okay, so good afternoon and welcome for today's webinar. I want to begin this by thanking all of you for participating this Dr. Mariano Lau 11th webinar series on online distance teaching and learning. Let me also welcome all of our guests from different universities, colleges, and other institutions. It is my hope that in addition to listening to the specific discussion that will take place today, you will actively participate in a larger discussion that will come after today's meeting. Once again, I thank you for your presence and I wish you well as you begin the most important task. So allow me to introduce our speaker this afternoon. He has been an achiever ever since. He is a graduate of Bachelor of Science in Computer Science last 2006 and got a Latin honor as cum laude. He graduated his master's degree in computer science at the University of Negros Occidental Recoletos. And then finished his doctorate degree in educational management here at Silliman University. With his love of passion and teaching, he also got a certificate in teacher education at Silliman University. During his postdoctorate and fellowship, two of the main highlights were his attendance at Boston College in Massachusetts, USA. Also, he was a visiting fellow at the International Christian University in Tokyo, Japan. He was known to everyone as the Dean of the College of Computer Studies in Silliman University for several years. Because of the long-term plans of the university, he is now our director for Silliman Online University Learning, or SOL. All his teaching experiences, he has been a researcher with emphasis on educational technology, and we also have his current one in partnership with the Commission in Higher Education, or CHED, in implementing a portable learning management system in higher education all throughout the country in this time of pandemic. He is one of the pillars of SU's LMS, which is My Soul, and of course the father of Soul, a mentor and a visionary. Ladies and gentlemen, please help me welcome our speaker this afternoon, Dr. Dave E. Marcial.
Good afternoon, everyone, and daghang salamat for joining our journey. I think this is the second to the last webinar series for this quarter. We are also hoping to continue this webinar series on online distance teaching and learning. As we all know, many in our provinces are still in the general quarantine. Okay. So, by the way, hi to our colleagues in the higher education, and I think I saw also some in the Department of Education also. I would like to say hi to our beloved Office of Instruction Director, Dr. Abdullah Torres, my friends in the Asian University Digital Resource Network. Thank you for joining in this afternoon's topic. Okay. Our topic this afternoon is about managing screen time in the perspective of an educator and teacher. Many of us perhaps started already our first semester, and we might be overwhelmed with the many challenges as far as classroom management is concerned. And among these challenges, actually, which is um, very popular or very rampant nowadays, that we saw also on social media, is on the overloaded or on the screen time among our students, and not just among our students, but also to all of us as teachers. My sharing this afternoon is about it's actually a combination of my experience, my literature, and my research work in relation to online distance teaching and learning. Okay, so let me share with you my slides. Managing screen time. Okay, so what is screen time? We know that Webster defined this screen time as the amount of time someone or something appears on screen in a movie or television show. In an online distance learning environment, it is actually the time spent a student or a teacher spent into the monitor or into the computer screen or any electronic device, perhaps like a smartphone or a tablet. Okay, so that is a screen time. And what we saw lately on social media and even on giant periodicals in the world, and they said the coronavirus disease 2019 increased significantly the screen time of our learners and adults, the children and adults, because people pass more time indoors. That's very, very obvious. And that creates negative health consequences. And specialists called for limiting the screen time and for more active lifestyle. In my presentation, I will focus more on the teaching strategy rather than the medical or the health considerations in the management of screen time as we go along into our teaching and learning. According to this blog from edweek.org, they have a lot of warnings, new warnings on screen time as students nationwide move to e-learning. Another periodical also became viral. Online learning raises concerns around screen time and students' well-being. Look at this. Too much screen time with distance learning. It's a question in the Coronado Times posted, and it's there's an amazing discussion over there, and you can read the different sentiments and challenges, not just coming from the students and parents, and that also includes coming from the teachers. From Science News for Students, healthy screen time is one challenge of distance learning. What I am presenting in today's screen time problem is worldwide. It is not just within our own locality, within our country, but it's a worldwide phenomenon. Harvard Medical School releases also that screen time is significantly correlated with brain processing or in our brain. And there's a very good explanation into there that digital devices can interfere with everything from sleep to creativity. I think you read this article about Zoom fatigue, and Zoom fatigue is real. I am not sure if you experience this, dear colleagues, but personally, I experienced this prior to classes, like attending webinars straight in the whole day. I don't have any more strength to play with my boy and play with my kid play with my child during the evening because it's really tiring. And what the periodical is telling us about Zoom fatigue, how to combat it. There's a lot of suggestions, recommendations, on how to combat or how to overcome Zoom fatigue. By the way, Zoom fatigue does not necessarily mean for a video conference using Zoom, but it actually encompasses all types of video conference session. Another periodical also explained here why you're feeling Zoom fatigue, and it's basically because of brain connectivity and so on and so forth. And another explanation about Zoom fatigue and emphasize that Zoom fatigue is very taxing in our brain, and video calls seemed an elegant solution to remote work, but they were the physic in complicated ways. I think when you read this in many instances over social media, and I am sure also that many of our attendees here experience Zoom fatigue. Okay. On the other hand, on the positive note of it, according to Holic, posted in Science News for Students, and I quote, screen time for classwork is not bad. No, sometimes it can provide flexibility in our schedule, but they add your time online should never get in the way of exercise and sleep time. So in other words, it's just a matter of time management. It's a matter of how you divide our activities online, how we schedule our activities so that screen time could be managed appropriately and could be managed properly. Now, let me share with you this screen time policy, because when I look at the literature and look at available information online, screen time policies in teaching and learning actually varies. No, let's start first in the outside the country. I got this from edsearch.com news. You can see here a varying time. Say, for example, for maximum daily learning time for select states in the US, like for Illinois, in the kindergarten, that's 90 minutes. Grade 1 to 2, 90 minutes. Grade 3 to 5, 120 minutes. Grade 6 to 8, 120 minutes. And grade 9 to 12, 270 minutes. You can also refer it. You can notice that in Indiana, in Kansas, New Mexico, Oklahoma, Oregon, West Virginia, they also varies. And that is actually in the United States. And what about in the Philippines? The Department of Education specifically released this memorandum that suggests screen time for schools, a screen time which is a combination of synchronous and asynchronous online teaching, with the consideration of this guideline, which they also adopted from the World Health Organization. And according to the guideline, according to the memorandum, it suggested that for kindergarten, a maximum of 1 hour daily. For grade 1 to 5, maximum of 1.5 hours daily. And grade 6 to 10, maximum of 2 hours daily. For grade 9 to 12, a maximum 4 hours daily, 2 hours in the morning and another 2 hours in the afternoon. And again, this is a suggested screen time, and this is actually emphasized that the screen time here refers to the accumulation of activities, both synchronous activities and asynchronous activities. Synchronous, we know, similar to a video conferences, like video conferences. Asynchronous, these are activities that could be done not in real time or at the own pacing of the student. In the higher education, I could not find any provisions or any specific recommendations or guidelines in the higher education as to the screen time, suggested screen time is concerned. Okay, now in my next few slides, these are some of my tips and which I actually do also in my class for the past month, for the past how many weeks, for the past 3 weeks in our online distance teaching. Okay, so you can add. It would be nice if you can also share your experiences here on how you manage your screen time, just to make sure that students also can manage their screen time properly. Oh, by the way, I saw some students here, my former students in senior high school, now in college. Thank you for joining, and rest assured that I'll be addressing also some screen time management to the perspective of the students. Try to I'll just try to balance and equate things here. Okay, first, estimate screen time, especially asynchronous activities. This is actually the most common problem because, as we know, in traditional teaching, I mean, in the face-to-face teaching, if we have, I'm talking in the college, if we have a 1 hour 1.5 hour Monday, Thursday, we normally meet them according to class schedule, right? We meet at 1 o'clock Monday, we discuss, we explain, and we are actually staying in the room for 1.5 hour. And then maybe we give assignment at the end of our class time, face-to-face class time. Then on the Thursday, on the second day of the week, you still there, you discuss, you explain, and then perhaps at the end of the day again, you give assignment, you give readings, and etc. And normally and usually estimate you don't estimate the time that the activities to be spent, no, the time to be spent for that particular activity, especially for during face to face. In face-to-face, we usually do not count time spent on assignments, homework, and other performance task preparation, because what we normally write in our syllabus is actually the class hours. And the class hours normally, we said discussion, lecture, quizzes, and so on and so forth. It may not be true to you, but this is true to me and some of the syllabi that I actually browse also. No? Okay. In ODL, in online distance learning, we have to estimate actually the time to be spent on asynchronous activities such as assignment, homework, and other performance tasks. Okay, common problem. We normally give many reading assignments to the student. My tip really is, you estimate how much time is required to read that particular reading, how much time to be spent for that particular reading. I do that actually, no? Even my introduction video, all the things that I posted and mga reading material, I always calculate screen time for that. Why? Because I always make sure that the total screen time is just actually equal to the class hours designed for my subject. Say, for example, I have this in my class. I'm now in my unit 2. I recalibrated my syllabus, and because there are 18 weeks in a semester, I have only 9 units, and then each unit is allotted with 10 hours, because my subject is actually a 5 hours a week and a 2.5 hour per meeting. That's actually our scheduling system in our university. So in every topic, I always spend 2 weeks, which is actually equivalent to 10 hours. Okay. Now, for my week 1, I intended that for asynchronous. And my asynchronous, if you can see there, you can see pre-recorded video introduction. That's 2 minutes and 6 seconds. What is that? It's actually just like, hi, hello, how are you, student? Just to make sure just to let my students feel that I am there. No, I have my pre-recorded video introduction. And then after that, I have required readings. And all my required readings are in two formats. I have a video, a pre-recorded lecture video, and a PDF version. What's that PDF version? It's actually my slides and all possible content that shareable is actually can be downloaded in my class. So I have seven chunks there, seven different parts of my required readings. Like for number one, the 13 minutes. For number two, that's 10 minutes. For number three, almost 30 minutes, and so on and so forth. I calculated that, you can see that in the pre-recorded lecture video. Quiz 2A, I have three essay questions that equivalent to 15 minutes. That includes, the thinking part, the browsing, and so on and so forth. The 15 minutes. I also have open forum every week. That is for questions and clarifications and sharing. Students are required to post three questions, at least three questions. So 15 minutes is allocated for that, maximum 15 minutes. Then I have an exercise for that to be submitted at the end of week two, which is I designed it as 2.45 hours. So on the next week, week two is my synchronous schedule. So video session, Q&A, deepening, review of exercise one, instruction for exercise two, and some of the reminders. That's 1 hour, 60 minutes. Video session, another video session on the second day of the week. No, that's equivalent to 30 minutes, just to, if there have more questions again. If none, then I will say actually, okay, if there's no more question, then we can end this. It's not necessarily that you have to consume the 30 minutes as scheduled. Then for my quiz 2, I have 50 items on objective type, and that's equivalent to 40 minutes. I calculated it. It's 7.45 hours only for both asynchronous and asynchronous activities. Take note that I for every topic I allocated 10 hours. If you could notice, there is a remaining 2.55. That's actually my intention, just to give time, to give way for the browsing time, all the messaging alert, because I have some alerts also, I injected some mga Bible verse, I injected some mga health tips that they could read. I also included that. I also included some alerting activities, which I will explain in my next slides. So most especially, do not really, like, if your schedule is 3 hours, please do not give naman an activity that exactly 3 hours. No, you just imagine that this is only one subject. What if the students have 9 subjects and you will have an additional of 5 hours screen time, assuming for your assignment? You just imagine 5 times 9, and that's additional of 45 45 minutes, no? Assuming lang that's gonna be a 5 I mean a 5 minutes, no? A 5 minutes. What if more time is needed for that particular assignment? So it's gonna be, let's not bombard our students with so much activities, because again, it will affect also the screen time and the preparation of our students. Okay, so that's my tip one. Second tip, simulate all activities. This is what we also notice, that we normally, there is a tendency for all of us teachers, like read this and answer this, no? Like let me cite the example of Dr. Bonjour, our OIC Dean in the College of Education. Let's try to avoid giving read this and answer this type of exercise, no? We have to make sure that we teachers simulated all the activities that we gave to the students. And if your learning management system has a switch to student view function, please do that, and then really do the activity actual, so that you can practice. This will also help you so that you will not be stressed Like after the activity, there are error, there are settings that you miss, and so on and so forth. You really have to do the simulation. I myself, before I let it viewable by the students, I have to simulate. I have to think, if I give an essay, if an ordinary student, if just an average type of student, how much time do they spend for this? Something like that. You just try to simulate so that you can estimate, and the screen time is manageable only within the expected time. In my case, I always do that all my activity time, the total activity time, should always be equal to the total class hours. So the one that I gave you in every topic, I always spend 10 hours for each topic. So I have to make sure that it is equal or less than to 10 hours or to the class hours. Okay? So that's the second tip. Third tip, group tasks should be synchronous activities. Okay. In face-to-face, we normally in face to face, we when we said, okay, this is our performance task, and then group yourself, and then submit this next meeting, something like that. And we normally don't spend class time. We don't normally give time that during in the classroom, and they normally perform that outside of our class schedule. Why? Because in face-to-face, meet-up spaces and venues are readily available. They can meet, the students can meet in the corridor, in the hallways, in the rooms, in their dorms, in cafes, in somewhere else. And it's easy to connect to each other. Meet time is based on their availability. It's easy for them to meet because they can just talk and, hey, when can we meet? Oh, anyway, I can drop by anytime and I'll just say hi and just give my time and input my things and so on and so forth. That is in face to face, and it's easy actually. um, or even overnight with classmates is fun for them, and then they can just take turns and then to perform the task. Taking turn to perform the task is just so easy for them because again, they are in person. But try to imagine, translate that into face to face. If there is a group task, if you will give that as an asynchronous time, it is really a challenging activity. For example, challenging activity for the student, what is the best time for them? Challenging for the student, where they could meet. No, it is challenging for the students how much time they could allocate, considering that again, internet connection and so on and so forth. My suggestion to this is, in online distance learning, we teachers should provide a platform and time for the students to collaborate. And let's give this as a synchronous activities. Use collaboration tools, real-time collaboration tools. These are the platforms so that the students will not worry anymore how they could meet. Provide them the space like Google Docs. You will just say, this is the Google Doc, I added you, perform this activity. You can also do forum, group them, no? Group 1, group 2, group 3, and then they can do the forum. You can also do breakout, assign them immediately. You can also apply chat. All of these are actually can be identified as synchronous activity. Let us also make sure that let's not give the problem to the students where to find their classmates. My suggestion really is group them ahead before giving the task. Peer selection is very good, but if we design to have the groupings that students can choose their own group mate, please let us also find a way that they can communicate. It's easy for them to communicate. Again, you may just think that actually they are on Messenger or whatsoever, but being a teacher, it is really our responsibility that students are in place already before performing the task. We have to take note the students have varying schedule, and communication network is always a challenge. That is why we have to provide a platform for them to collaborate. And if the actually the tendency, my observation is like this. If a group activity is given as an asynchronous activity, the tendency really is not anymore real-time collaboration. What happens is like this. Student A will perform his or her part. In another time, student B will perform his or her part, and then student C. And then the leader will just summarize it, or perhaps put it together, patch it together to make at one. And it's not anymore real-time collaboration. Better really if the collaboration is done during your class schedule. The collaboration is there. You provided a platform for them to collaborate so that real-time communication and collaboration are being exercised. Okay? That's my third tip. Fourth is divide the performance task into manageable chunks equivalent to the class time. In face-to-face, I normally we have something like this. No, I experience this in face-to-face. Like for example, on October 1, 2020, submit your research proposal about screen time. Something like that. In ODL, if you are going to translate that in ODL, you should do that in chunks. Say for example, during asynchronous week, September 21 to 25, perform and submit the following: September 21, chapter 1, September 28, chapter 2, October 1, chapter 3. And those time you can actually schedule it according to your class schedule, rather than let the students prepare their own, and then maybe it's already an overloaded time, or on top of the class time that they are performing also their activity. So better you can divide it. And then scaffolding, we can scaffold the learning of the student. All you have to do is perhaps, like in my case, I always ask for activity log. What did you do for Monday? You write it, no? Activity logs. And then on Tuesday, because asynchronous, you are expected to perform your performance task. On Tuesday, chapter 2 is needed. Make an activity log also, what you have contributed, or what you have done to activity 2, something like that. No, let's divide the performance rather than just giving this is our requirement and then submit it on Monday, or submit it on December on the final. Especially, by the way, especially for the final requirement, we have to uh, we have to introduce as early as now that there is a final requirement, that you need this time, that, and so on and so forth, so the student will be ready and will be prepared in performing their activities. Okay, fifth tip: pre-recorded lecture videos with text-based equivalent formats instead of live lecture videos are suggested also. I highly suggest pre-recorded lecture video if you wanted to do a lecture rather than performing live. We know that in pre-recorded lecture videos, students can pause anytime, student can stop anytime, student can watch according to their most convenient time, especially kung sakit na sa mata or whatsoever, they can just stop it. Unlike in real time, even if their head is so aching, but because that is live lecture, they are actually forced to watch you, to look at you on the screen, and to listen to you. And if the connection is a problem, then that is the time that they have to perhaps go nearer to the screen because your voice is not audible anymore, and so on and so forth. There are many considerations if and many challenges if we will go for live lecture video session. So in myself, I always give pre-recorded lecture videos as if I am discussing my students in front in my class. So something like this. This is my class. I have a pre-recorded video here. I recorded this and then I put it on YouTube. And then if they don't like watching me, if they don't like hearing my voice on my pre-recorded lecture video, they can actually download the PDF version of my discussion. That's my fifth advice. Next is give AFK activities. AFK refers to is a shortcut to away from keyboard activities. Give that. Some of the examples here, say for example, look at the sky, inhale, and exhale for 10 minutes. So at least naman siguro they can look at the window and then look at the sky. And then in one whole sheet of paper, write an essay about coronavirus. Once done, take a photo on your answers, then save it in your Google Drive. Copy and paste the file link in the submission page provided. So instead of students writing and pasting on the screen, writing on their essay. So at least they will get a sheet of paper, they will write it, pause for a while away from screen, write their essay, then a shorter screen time is necessary for the submission. Okay, so there are many AFK activities. It's actually called alerting activities also, which you can Google it. There are many activities that you can incorporate in your class. Divide periodical and major exams, especially long exams, in two parts. No, say for example, part one, 1 to 1:40 p.m. And then you will have a 1:40 to 2 o'clock, let's say a 20 minutes break. And then part two is 2 to 2:40 p.m. That is actually just to make sure that one is internet connectivity, better if you will chop it by chunk, by part, because perhaps the connection is slow and then at least the student finished a group of questions and answered it, and then break for a while so the students can, blink and then look at the sky or look at somewhere else, and then their eyes will be relaxed, and then take another part of the quiz also. So I think that's very self-explanatory. Spare time for page loading and browsing. This is the one I'd mentioned. Not all of us, we have different internet connectivity speed, no? Internet speed in particular. We teachers might have a very fast internet connection, but let's be compassionate also with our learners. They might not have the same speed as yours. So please always spare time for page loading and browsing. This is the one I mentioned that if you have a 1 hour, don't start naman your class at exactly 1 o'clock. No, maybe you will give leeway, just like in face-to-face, di ba? Students are, perhaps in your school, students are allowed to be late within 15 minutes, meaning that is the grace period. Okay? So please consider that also. During exam, just to highlight, during exam, consider loading time, because I know some colleagues or I know some teachers that they don't want students to go back and browse and then and so on and so forth. No, they want that each question should be visible only on one page. So the loading time in clicking to the next, you have to consider that. Okay, you have to consider that. So this is the one I mentioned. If your class time is 1 to 2 p.m., please do not start at exactly 1 p.m. for live session. Especially if the students have classes also before this time, maybe, from going out and going in, logging in, especially if you will be using another third-party video conference tool, it will take time to open it again, no? And then start at perhaps 1:10 or 1:15, and then please spare also another time for the exit, another time for going to the next classroom or whatsoever, so that students can easily manage also their screen time. If it is asynchronous, suggested time to complete the activity must be less than 1 hour. No, if your time is 1 to 2 p.m. So this is the one I mentioned to you that if the class or if the subject is only 1 hour a week, so do not give naman if during asynchronous, do not give an activity that is more than 1 hour. Okay. 9. Okay, incorporate alerting activities in your virtual classroom. I got this. This is an example. I just had a quiz at 12:30 actually, And then, say for example, this one, coverage unitary objective type. To get the release code of quiz 2, do the instruction below. Before taking the quiz, do this. Perform 5 jumping jacks. Count your pulse rate. Submit the total count of your pulse rate here. Then release your release code to quiz 2 will be shown after submission. Okay, so something like that, and then they are away, they can do jumping jack, they can do exercise, just an alerting activities to manage their time, and to relax them from staring on the screen and other stuff. There are other alerting classifications of alerting activities like movement break, homework breaks, screen time breaks, increase motivational activities to participate, wake up activities if the students appear sluggy, tired, or disinterested. No, and some of the activities that may be applicable for in our classroom, like jumping jacks, run in place, stop and go, march in place, drink water through a straw, head, shoulder, knees, and toes, and then take a walk. No, I do that actually. Like before I start my video conference, also I ask my students, just stand up and then turn your chair, just to to stretch their body, especially if I know that my students have classes before my time. Okay, 10, enough reading time, thinking time, and typing or clicking time. Type during exams. That's clicking time. Sorry, clicking time. I got this from a suggestion from Kansas Curriculum Centers in the U.S. from edulastic.com. They have this suggested time, like if there is a true or false item, 30 seconds, multiple choice item, 60 seconds, a short answer item, 120 seconds, essay, no, per essay question, 10 to 15 minutes per essay question. Actually, it depends. And then 5 to 10 minutes to review the work. On top of this, please give time again for the reading, for the thinking time, and the typing, especially if that is a short answer, and the clicking time of your exam if you are using a learning management system in your school. So please, you have to consider that. Okay, so those are the 10 tips that I could share. My next slide is some of other tips that we can also share to our students, because most of the affected uh, the high consideration of screen time affects really our health. We know that, no? The biggest problem with looking at the screens is they emit a blue light. What's that blue light? High energy visible light, short wavelength, emit higher amounts of energy than warm light colors. That is why, if you can notice, if you have like a ring light, it's better actually to use a warm light colors, especially if you are the teacher moderating. Warm light colors is very necessary, because most of the ring light is always placed near to you. That is why highly suggested is using the warm light colors. Okay. Now, among the many effects of screen time is damage to our retina, long-term vision problems, macular degeneration, and cataract. Mimics daylight, reduces release of melatonin, disrupts sleep patterns also. Um, I'm not coming from the medical field, but I just included this just to really make sure that we understand and to emphasize the negative impact of too much screen time to all of us, teachers and students also. Now, how we can counter attack into this? So there are some helpful tips that I also got from the same website that they also cited it from South Texas Eye Institute. First is this one, 20-20-20 rule. What is this? Have a 20-second break every 20 minutes and then look at something 20 feet away. So for example, if you have a class, if you are reading, that is why I always suggest pre-recorded lecture video, because student cannot afford, if live, student cannot afford to stop to stop and walk away, no, because that's live. That is why it's better if pre-recorded lecture video, because they can just stop it and then they can walk away, and then they can walk and then look at something, and then they can go back, play it again. So 20-20-20 rule, 20-second break for every 20 minutes, and look at something 20 feet away. Dapat looking 20 feet away, that is actually to expand rather than the very small screen that we look at for so long. Another is reduce brightness on your phone, tablet, or your computer. You can try this also to our students listening, watching now. You can also try that. No, dim is very helpful also. Make reduce the brightness rather, because especially during the afternoon no, during the afternoon you reduce it, because again it can strain also our eye. And then sit arms distant from your computer screen, something like this. No, if you notice I am away, it's do not like do something like this very near to the web camera, very near to the screen, or using your phone. No, your measurement is actually 1 arm length from your screen, and that's actually the suggested distance from the screen. Definitely avoid screens 1 hour before bed, and no matter your age. So before sleeping, make sure not to. No, I think many of our kids or young generation, the teenagers right now, always using their phone in their bed. Let's help them. Student, please avoid using screens or watching at the screen 1 hour before bed. No, and then reduce overhead lighting, like on your top. And then there are also applications and mobile app that gradually filters out blue light in the evening, making screen more orange, no? And then sir, kasi paano naman kasi sir ang material ni ma'am, very very small size yung text. You can actually enlarge it. You can increase it. You can increase your text size in on your screen. Just go to the settings and then appearance, and you can increase it. Even in your phone, you can also increase text size. Wear gaming, computer glasses, and special filters to reduce eye strain. If you have the resources to have this, better. But for us, gaming, if especially if you're not gamers, we don't really bother to wear some computer glasses. But according to this material, it is also helpful to have some computer glasses, especially made to filter and to reduce eye strain. Okay, so those are just some tips in reducing digital eye strain. This is the one I mentioned to you. After sharing the 20-20-20, we can actually incorporate 20-20-20 ruling in our classroom activities. Same with my example before. You can actually inject. I even have a pre-recorded lecture video that after 20 minutes, I said, I will pause. I will pause. I will be keep silent, and then I have to look at 20, just to demonstrate to them that we are also doing some 20-20-20 even as teachers. No, para the students also will be reminded that oh, it's a 20-20-20 thing really. Okay? Then be sure to blink also during your 20-20-20. Blink, we have to blink as much as we could. To blink frequently as you use your device, and during your 20-20-20 breaks. You may need to use artificial tears to relieve dry eye. So Personally, it is very helpful to me. I always blink and then look at, especially if straight classes or straight looking at the emails and so on and so forth. Okay. In summary, it's really you have to recalibrate your syllabus with emphasis on strategies, activities, plus time allocation. Some strategies and activities in face to face are impossible to be done in an online distance learning. So I hope all of us recalibrated our syllabus with recalibration with emphasis on strategies. Of course, we all start when we recalibrate our syllabus, we started with our learning outcomes. But this time in the implementation and the most sometimes not so emphasized is actually on the strategies, the activities, and time allocation. We might have a very good recalibration of our learning outcomes, but the question now is time allocation, activities, and strategies. Considering that this is new to all of us, let's help each other because, as I mentioned, most of the time there are strategies. Not all subjects can be delivered in face to face, but not all learning outcomes are deliverable in an online distance learning environment. Thank you very much, and I would be happy to hear also some sharing of our dear teacher attendance here. Thank you and good afternoon.
All right. So thank you for that very pedagogical strategies and tips that you have shared to us this afternoon, Dr. Dave. And now we have come to the most exciting part of the webinar, which is our open forum. So I'm sure that our selected participants now have prepared their questions regarding the topic. And if you have questions, you can actually type your questions in the Q&A icon below the screen. So I will be monitoring questions from Facebook and at the same time in Zoom. So I think we have here questions from Wendell Doria. So if I may read, does it affects the health, the students or even faculty if too much screen time?
Yeah, there are many, no, there are many. I think I mentioned it. I think you posted it before I shared the slide. Yes, eye strain, even stress, obesity. There are many. I did not include that because there could be a proper venue discussing about negative effect of screen time to our health. There are many.
All right. I hope that that will help Mr. Wendell Doria for that particular answer. So another anonymous attendee here, Dr. Dave, asked question, what would be the best platform can be used for quizzes?
For quizzes, there are many. It depends, especially if your school has a learning management system. There are many available there that you can use, and it my always advice to this is please go back to the intention of the quiz because there are many that you can actually use from the basic up to the most complicated platform that you can use in your class. There are many, sir. You can use available free versions and even the subscribe one. There are many according to the type. It depends on the type of the type of the quiz that the assessment that you that you intend to that you intend to deliver or to give to your students.
Okay, so we hope that there are still questions regarding the topic, but allow me to acknowledge the people who have shared this time today and giving a very great feedback on the discussion this afternoon. So the topic was so informative, and at the same time, there are a lot of good feedback here in the chat box and, of course, in Facebook. So we'll just wait for some attendees to ask question regarding the topic. Again, if you have question, you can actually type your question in an open forum section or here in the Q&A icon. So I have here question now from Sherilyn Pacaro. If I may read, how do you balance the appropriate level of screen time versus the quality of engagement provided to students for online learning? Because one of the excuses provided by professors on why they opted to chat student is to minimize student screen time.
That's a very good question, Shirley. How do we balance the appropriate level of screen time versus the quality of engagement provided to students for online learning? We are all teachers, and I'm pretty sure that we know also that what is the what is the most appropriate time, or what is the quality of our engagement. There are two things here that I see, Ma'am Shirley. We have to consider also engagement strategy. I think we have one session into that as to the engagement, because um, having real time, no, in an online distance learning, student engagement is not necessarily looking at the screen. There could be other engagement in our content in an online distance learning environment that we will not need the monitor or the screen. No, I think I will just divulge into that area, because when we talk about online distance learning, the dilemma actually is: are all activities need computer? That's the question. No, or do we have to give activities that need computer all the time? My suggestion to that is no. I'm even teaching in IT and in computer science. I even incorporated paper-based activities, no, just to make sure that they are away from screen. That's the point, ma'am. It's not really on the quality. We can still uphold and maintain the quality even less on screen time. The most important thing there is we can engage the student to our content and to our delivery. And because one of the excuses provided by professors why they opted to chat students is to minimize student screen time. That could be one. Actually, chat is one, but there are many other ways to engage our students in an online distance learning. And when we say student engagement, is not necessarily synchronous. Also, remember, I shared also that a pre-recorded lecture video is an asynchronous activity, but that could be a very good strategy also that students can manage their screen time. It may not necessarily reduce the screen time, but manage well their screen time engagement.
Okay, so I hope that is helpful to you, Sherilyn, as a student. And we also have here in the chat box from Dr. Beulah Rose. How does one teach kindergarten kids? Some parents are concerned because of the difficult challenge to take a leave of absence because no one else can help their kids navigate the LMS. Coaching their kids during office hours or days affect their work efficiency and effectiveness. Please give us some advice about this.
Thank you, Dr. Viola. I may say I'm lucky because I did not enroll a Max because of age consideration. I did not enroll him actually in kindergarten because of, again, age. But I have not experienced this, but based on literature, it really needs time. There is a learning curve, especially in the lower level of learners in an online distance learning, and the learning curve of the parent assisting the kids also varies, ma'am, and it varies depending on the activities, and depending on the resources, and depending on the platform that they are using. Study shows study shows mga one-fourth daw, I read an article that one-fourth of the total duration of the course is designed for parents assisting the kids. I read that article, and then later on they can just leave their kids because they can already navigate with the assumption that there is already a structure in terms of their delivery, like the showing of resources, the nature of their activities, the nature of their exercises, and so on and so forth. No, so it's it's uh, it's still part, ma'am, of the new normal. It, there's a article that I read that um, in any many universities incorporated incorporated a home study as a strategy in teaching, and in home study that requires parent or that requires guardian to assist the kids. No, so I cannot really give a very definite advice into this, but I think um, we can just work together, parents, teachers, and technical people, so that the learning curve may be what we can shorten, no? We can shorten the learning curve and help each other, and most especially, we can help our learners easily navigate the uh, the learning platform.
Okay, so thank you for that, Dr. Dave. By the way, some people here in Facebook are asking about the session if this is recorded. Actually, this is recorded. You can actually have, we will just give you the link on where can you access the session. Okay, so any question regarding the discussion a while ago? All right, here. Um, this is from Rosalina. But can you advise us librarians who are into the computer screen from 8:30 to 12 and 2 p.m. to 5 p.m. to answer queries from our library users for their information and research needs?
Okay, that's a very good question, ma'am. Especially if our job really is to, if we have no choice because that's really our job. Say for example, I give you an example. In a call center, they are actually expected to be on screen all the time, no? Just like our job in Seoul, we are expected to be on screen from 8 o'clock to 12 and 1 o'clock to 5 p.m. and even nighttime. We're expected because that's our job. So I think what we will do, because we cannot really do away with this nature of job, because this is really our work. All we have to do is to exercise 20-20-20. All we have to do is to make sure that we blink. There are also some strategies that we can prevent eye strain into this, because not all the time naman siguro po that not every minute and every second you type. So maybe you can just walk for a while and then look at, and then the one that I shared, Ma'am Dinoy, no? Like in our office, we keep time. I myself, I keep time to stand up and just to make sure to really do something like this, and to look at green, no, so that my eyes will not be super stressed and strained. I hope I answered your question, Ma'am Rose.
All right, so thank you for that, Sir Dave. Okay, so if you don't have questions, let's not go around the bush. Let's wrap up the whole session for this afternoon. With technology constantly changing, there are many multimedia tools we use daily for socializing, education, work. It could be research and entertainment. Well, media use can be fun and even educational. Learners can get screen time overload. To avoid too much screen time, by the way, I want you to follow the tips and strategies of Dr. Dave's discussion a while ago. All right, so for our announcement, um, before we go, I'll invite everyone to witness our another topic next Saturday. Our speaker is Assistant Professor Janice. So the topic is about online safety. So again, we have the date below and at the same time um, the time. Okay, on screen is the link for the post webinar survey where the attendees this afternoon can actually fill out the necessary information for you to have your certificate of participation for this session. Okay, so on screen is the certificate of participation. Okay, so basically for those attendees who asked about where can we find the previous sessions of our webinar series, you can actually visit the link on screen. You can actually visit there for you to access the whole session from first webinar until the last webinar or the recent webinar that we have. All right, so um, I think everyone don't have any questions. So again, I'll invite everyone to witness another topic for for next Saturday. The topic is about online safety, and I thank you all for coming. I would like to acknowledge the people or the attendees coming from the different countries such as UAE, and also love to acknowledge the attendees from Davao and Angeles City. Thank you so much for joining with us this afternoon. Again, I am your moderator, Johnson Lado Palama. Thank you and good afternoon.